Hey everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us, as always, is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you live from right here at the AMC Burbank Studios. We are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
Also here, writer-director John Schnepp.
What's going on, everybody? I didn't get to make it to Star Wars Celebration, but I was telling these guys I got to live vicariously through everyone who was there. So it looked like so much fun. Next year, I will definitely be there with my Darth Vader helmet.
Also here is AMC's Mark Ellis.
Next time, just don't schedule your haircut appointment to coincide with Star Wars Celebration. It was great seeing all the AMC fans there. As much of a community as Star Wars is, so too the AMC crew. It was awesome to be there.
You know, it's funny because we were talking about this earlier, is that, you know, we got to Star Wars Celebration, and it's like we had more people coming up and talking to us about the shows and everything than we do at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of crazy. But hey guys, listen, for those of you who watched AMC Movie Talk on Friday, you remember that we cut the show a little bit short because Dennis and I had to rush out to go and do something. Well, we actually had a chance on Friday to do something really, really cool. We got to go and meet up with Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas to talk about their new film, Ant-Man. As far as I know, it is the first real interview talking about Ant-Man with Douglas and Rudd together. And what the plan is right now, if everything goes according to plan, you will be able to see this interview. It's about 8 minutes long. You're going to be able to see this interview if you go to see at AMC Theaters, the double feature on opening night of Avengers and Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. And it's going to play in between those. Now, we'll put it up online a little bit later, and we're hoping this all works out. There's still some hurdles we got to jump over, but that's the plan. So keep your eyes open for that. They let us know a couple things that I don't think anybody knows about Ant-Man yet, which is actually pretty cool. So like I said, keep your eyes open, and we'll get that to you as soon as we can.
All right, the weekend box office numbers are in, and for the third week in a row, Furious 7 took the top spot, bringing in $29 million. The weekend brings Furious 7's worldwide box office to over $1.15 billion and places it at number 7 on the all-time box office chart. In second spot is the new film Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, earning $24 million on its opening weekend. And third is the new low-budget horror film Unfriended, bringing in $16 million. In the number 4 spot is the new animated film Home, making an additional $10.4 million in its fourth week, bringing its worldwide total up to $270 million. And rounding out the top 5 is The Longest Ride, making $6.8 million. Schnepp, what stands out to you in this weekend's box office report?
Well, the thing that stands out most to me is the Paul Blart Mall Cop Part 2, that it made so much money. I mean, everyone I know was just railing on it relentlessly. So somebody went and saw it, and I think it was a lot of younger kids. They were like, hey, I want to go see that guy on a Segway. You know, I want to see him fall a lot of times. I want to see that fat guy hurt himself. And we're going back to that old kind of Three Stooges, you know, like, you know, which I don't have a problem with. I mean, it kind of almost makes me want to see it because everyone said it's so dumb that I was like, I got to see this big, dumb, weird film. But so that's what stands out to me.
Two things really stand out to me. One, of course, is Fast and Furious, third week in a row, number 1, crossing $1.15 billion. The number 7 now all-time box office film ever. And this week, it will probably jump to number 5, just barely ahead of it is Iron Man 3, which is just probably about 60 million ahead of it, so it'll probably cross that. And then it'll probably bump out Frozen, which is in the number 5 at some point. I don't think it's going to climb to number 4 all time, but big kudos to Fast and Furious for that. I mean, that's insane. They got to be great. And Paul Blart. I mean, but can we really be that surprised? I mean, there is an audience out there, and that's the great thing about movies, man. We say it all the time. It's subjective. Just because I don't appreciate one thing doesn't mean you won't appreciate it. And I don't appreciate Paul Blart, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't, right? And there's an audience out there, whether you're talking about like, and that whole crew, right? And the movies that they make, whether you're talking about Grown Ups Part 2. Right. What's that one with Adam Sandler where he plays his own twin sister?
Jack and Jill.
What about
guys?
Don't forget the cobbler.
And now you got Paul Blart. And the last one made money. We shouldn't really be surprised that this one made money. And it's like, you know what? It just goes to show you there are movies out there for everybody and every taste. And that's a good thing. It's something we celebrate. Anyway, Mark, what did you think?
The first Paul Blart actually made me chuckle a lot. In these trailers, it looked like a lot of chubby guy in a Segway pratfalls. But I think there is a market for that, certainly. I was a little bummed that Unfriended didn't do over 20 million. I thought that might have been one of those sleeper horror hits that you hear about from time to time. It was such a low budget film. It was a cool, inventive way to tell a horror story. I liked it more than I thought I would. And so I thought it might bump up to Paul Blart levels, but it didn't quite get there. And then obviously, I think Furious 7 did two things. Yes, it's very impressive that it's now the number 7 film of all time, but it also, the fact that it pulled in under 30 million, I think it puts to bed some of that, oh, this thing could pass Avatar. This could be the highest grossing film of all time kind of thing. Even though it does have another week to probably stay at number 1 before Avengers Age of Ultron comes out.
You know, the other thing to keep in mind too about that whole thing about, you know, passing Avengers and all that kind of stuff was that, you know, you have to consider, is it fast out of the gate? No pun intended. And it was fast out of the gate. But I think we knew, like, this was a good movie. If you saw a review, you know I really liked the movie. But was it the type of movie that was going to get people back into theater 7 or 8 or 9 times, which is what you're going to need to hit Avatar or Titanic or even Avengers, you know, types of numbers. And I don't think those kinds of numbers were there. With Unfriended, though, I'm very impressed with it because not only was it with the results it got, not only was it a really low budget film, they didn't do much marketing for it at all. And it got pretty decent word of mouth. You're right. It was much better than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be all kinds of awful, and it's not, actually, pleasantly, surprisingly enough. And so 16 million for that, I actually think that's something they should be, you know,
I think if they had the fat guy who got his hand in the weird thing, if he was on a Segway, I think it would have been like 30 million. But I was going to say that film cost like $27 to make. It was like a couple of people had brought their webcams. And
14 of that was for the blender.
Yeah, maybe more. So, well, I can't wait to see it, actually. I haven't seen Unfriended yet, but now I want to really see it, especially because you guys said it was fun.
Hop on your Segway, go across the street, go check it out.
Guys, I broke my Segway on the way here. Sorry.
All right, what's next?
A new trailer for the upcoming Fantastic Four just hit the web yesterday, giving us a much clearer look at both the characters and tone of the new film. Fantastic Four offers a contemporary reimagining of Marvel's original and longest-running superhero team. The story centers on 4 young outsiders who teleport to an alternate and dangerous universe, which alters their physical appearance in shocking ways. Their lives irrevocably appended, the team must learn to harness their daunting new abilities and work together to save Earth from a former friend turned enemy. Mark, what did you think of the new Fantastic Four trailer?
In the words of Eric Cartman, this trailer was hella cool. I mean, in a weekend when you got a lot of neat trailers, this one really stood out to me because I wasn't a huge Fantastic Four fan. I wasn't that excited about the movie. Every little thing this film has done, whether it's released a neat looking poster or the teaser trailer, I'm like, you know what, this Fantastic Four thing, it's coming out in August. It's going to be the last big superhero movie we get of the season. And this trailer, it showed a lot. It gave you some of the story. It gave me enough to get engaged, but it didn't give away too many plot details. And the way the thing looks sold me on this so hard. I think Miles Teller's going to be a great lead. I think him and Kate Mara are going to play off each other very well. Michael B. Jordan looks like he's going to have some comic relief in there in addition to, you know, turning on fire. But then when you see Thing in there, this looks like such a great team. And that reveal of Doom, this has sold me so hard on seeing this movie come August.
Schnepp?
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely love this trailer, and I am a big fan of the Fantastic Four. And I remember when we first started hearing about this, both me and John Campea were kind of a little negative on the film for a lot of reasons. We're like, what, you know, it's like this and that. And I actually heard a lot about it in advance. And I actually seeing this trailer, stuff that I had heard about, I see in the trailer, and they executed it great. So it's really fun to see this movie come from like at least low expectations, especially following the other 2 Fantastic Fours, to something like this with high expectations. It looks like it's a different kind of a superhero film, sci-fi horror film. And the reveal of Doom to me is perfect. I don't need him to look like the comic book Doom. I just want it to be a good film. So,
yeah, this is, look, like you said, we were negative on this film right from the beginning, the Fantastic Four babies, all that stuff. I've said this a number of times. Then you realize, hey, this is a all-star cast. This is truly a talent-heavy cast with a talent-heavy writer and a talent-heavy director. Why are we crapping on this movie again? You know, and then that opened up our minds to a little bit more. You know, suddenly we're not expecting it to be bad. Maybe it could do some good things. And that first trailer came out. And the first trailer was good. And we were like, wow, like now I'm actually, not only am I not negative on this film, the first trailer comes out and it's like, now I'm kind of looking forward to this movie. This trailer changes the narrative. This trailer has changed. You could feel it online overnight.
right.
When you get online, start looking around now, this has gone from an 85% of everybody just crapping on this film to like now 70% of the people out there are like, this actually looks pretty damn good. The most important thing I think this trailer did was it communicated pretty effectively what the tone of this film is. And the tone feels great. It's heavy, but clearly with the Michael B. Jordan character, humor interjected. That one shot, Dennis was talking about this on our review of it yesterday. That one shot when Michael B. Jordan and Reed Richards are sitting beside each other, and Michael B. Jordan goes out to give a fist pump, and he's just, he just gets us the flat palm hand on it. That cracked me up. The chemistry between Kate Mara and Miles Teller, in just the trailer, you can tell this is already 50 times better than the chemistry between Jessica Alba and Ion Gruffed, however you pronounce his name, who played, who I actually like very much. I think the actor's really good. I just can never say his name. And the thing looked badass. That one shot, very reminiscent of the last Hulk movie, of him dive bombing himself out of the plane. He looks so good. That the Doom reveal, and you're right, it's not the comic book Doom. It doesn't need to be the comic book Doom. Can you just look at it and then say, oh, that must be Doom? If you can, then it's close enough, and just get excited about seeing their rendition of it. I said this before, and I still believe this today. Well, all things are subjective, and I'm sure there are some people out there who just watch the trailer and it didn't do it for them. That's totally cool. But I feel like today that you have to be someone, if you want to still crap on this, you got to be somebody who has predetermined that you're going to crap on this trailer when it comes out, no matter how good or bad it is. That's just how I feel it was. No, is it as good as the Star Wars trailer? No. Is it as good as the Batman v Superman trailer? No, but it's a great trailer, and I think it has changed the narrative of this movie and how much people are looking forward to it entirely. It was a great I'm really excited about it.
I think one of the jobs of trailers, too, is that they're their own art form now at this point. It's a 2-minute piece of art, and not only is it used to sell the movie, it's also used to help put to bed some unrest, because you always heard a lot of reports about, oh, this set is unruly, and everybody doesn't like each other, and there's conflict in the writer's room and all that stuff. Maybe that's true, and maybe the finished product ends up reflecting that, but everything that I've actually seen on a screen so far looks like the Fantastic Four is going to be an awesome movie.
All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. And then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
There was a lot of Star Wars universe news going on this weekend as Star Wars Celebration drew to a close. Included in that news was our first bit of official information about the upcoming film Rogue One, which we now know will officially be titled Star Wars Anthology Rogue One. The official short synopsis reads like this. A band of resistance fighters unite for a daring mission to steal the Death Star plans. John, buy or sell this new information on Star Wars Anthology Rogue One?
I buy it for several reasons. Let's start with the title. I really, at first, when I saw Star Wars Anthology Rogue One, it took me back, but I thought, you know what? That's great. It clearly sets up the distinction between your main Star Wars storyline involving the Skywalkers and the Solos and where that goes, and what are the other stories in the Star Wars universe, just by what's in the title. I love that. And if you saw that little teaser clip, that's not from the movie because they haven't started production of it yet, but just that coming out of that forest canopy in the cave and then out, and then you just see the huge Death Star on the horizon. It's like, that's awesome. I also like the synopsis, although it's a bit of a surprise. We were all expecting to hear a band of bounty hunters are going after. No mention of bounty hunters in this whatsoever. So either A, they're trying to keep that under wraps even though everybody's been talking about it, or B, surprise, surprise, the internet was wrong and it's not about bounty hunters who are hired to go and get it, and it's going to be a Boba Fett-centric movie. Maybe it won't be now. Maybe all that was complete bull. But either way, I like the way they presented this. It felt good. I liked it. So for me, it's a buy, Mark. It's
such a smart play for them to kick off a spin-off series with a movie like this. I mean, I was in the arena when they played the trailer, and the excitement was palpable. I mean, everybody was so surprised that we got to see anything, even if it wasn't necessarily footage from the film. We were all like, this is the movie that we want to see. And it's the way to kick off Star Wars Anthology, because unlike some Old Republic story, which I'm sure we're going to get eventually, or a spin-off Boba Fett movie, or a Han Solo movie, or Salacious Crumb, the high school years. This is a movie that leads so perfectly into A New Hope. I mean, everybody, even your casual Star Wars fan, my mom knows that the reason why A New Hope is happening is because these rebels stole Death Star plans. Right. So to lead in to the classic trilogy, like what they're doing, and piggyback off that story while still telling their own thing, this film is going to be dark. It's going to be a war movie. It's going to be a spy film. What Gareth had Edwards said is that the team that he built around him to help him pull off this movie, you have guys and gals that worked on Zero Dark 30, Black Hawk Down, Saving Private Ryan. This is going to be an intense flick. This is the perfect way to kick off the anthology for Star Wars.
Would you say that the excitement was palpatinable?
I want those plans, and I want Rogue One now.
Schnepp, what do you think?
You know what? I didn't get to see the cool shot that you guys are talking about, but I can imagine it.
You will be.
I want to see it. Can you please post it online for all of us people? Who
It's online. I'll send you a link.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, this sounds great, and I agree. Star Wars Anthology, it's like what X-Men Origins wanted to be. Like, you get that like, hey, here's our special brand where we're going to have our spin-offs, and we can do whatever we want, and it's not part of the core story, which is the Skywalker story. So I think it's exciting, and I'm really excited to see what other movies they're going to do. Like, I'm just especially hearing how they're going to do this. It's going to be like, oh, this is after this, so there's not really any more Jedi. So it really is kind of like going to be like a war film. That's what John Knoll is one of the guys who came up with this story idea. He's the first person. John Knoll, I don't know if you know who he is. He's one of the special effects legends.
He also invented like Photoshop.
Created Photoshop.
Yeah, I mean, he created that little orb that you always see pictures of. That's the Knoll orb. So you'll be like, we're capturing the entire room with this weird phantasm ball.
You basically bend a knee to John Knoll. If you don't know his name, you should.
So he came up with this. He was the first person to be an outside pitch. Like, hey, I came up with this cool idea for a Star Wars movie. I was telling it to a bunch of guys, figured I'd pitch it. They were like, we love it. So he's getting story credit, but I don't really know that much more about it. So it's really exciting to see what they do next.
Do you know Knoll was actually being groomed for a while at Lucasfilm to just shift over and become a director there?
Wow.
Which is actually really kind of cool.
I'm sure he'll end up doing it, but I mean, the guy's an insane genius.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Universal has just released a brand new poster and trailer for their upcoming film Jurassic World. The film stars Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, Ty Simpkins, and Jake Johnson, and is set to hit AMC theaters on June 12th. Schnepp, buy or sell the new trailer and poster for Jurassic World?
I buy it. I thought it was just a little too violent towards pterodactyls. It kind of bummed me out. I was like, can't that one escape? No. But I really liked it. It showed the super bad, giant, weird, genetically modified dinosaur, which I guess they're beefing it up with GMOs. What are they doing? I don't know. But it's this giant creature that, they have to get like a bunch of guys like in, military jets to take it out. So it's got to be really, kind of like it's hard to kill. I don't know. It seemed really fun. I was like kind of on the fence with Jurassic World for a while, but then this trailer was like, all right, there's a lot of dinosaur action, so I'm going to check it out.
Mark?
I buy the trailer so hard. I thought the trailer was brutal. It was intense. I thought it was great. The action that they showed, there's the little bits of story that they gave away, again, without giving away too much.
Right.
And it actually managed to mask the fact that the silliest part of this movie to me is that they're still genetically engineering other dinosaurs, and they're trying to make bigger and badder dinosaurs. It's like, do you learn nothing from what happened before? Just make the cute little ones and see what they grow into. So you have this huge thing that's running around the park, but Chris Pratt, again, when we talked about the clip that they released a couple weeks ago, I'm so sold on this guy being the star of the film. The poster, I just didn't think it didn't look that cool. It doesn't look that cool in a still shot for him to be on a motorcycle with a bunch of raptors. It looked great in the trailer, but the actual poster I'm going to sell. I like when the poster is a little more mysterious for Jurassic Park, and it's just that dinosaur logo as opposed to some action shot that I just didn't think works in a still as well as it does when you're actually watching the motion.
Speaking of posters, though, they released 2 other posters, and I like those better. There was Bryce Dallas Howard,
with
the weird creature. It was just like a 2-shot, and then there was another one with the giant fish chasing down that little tiny shark. So I like those
anything with
posters.
that giant fish, anything with that Leviathan under the sea, I'm buying.
And they've been using that a lot. I gotta say, I actually really do like the poster. I actually like the poster a lot more than I thought I would. And if you remember, I've been quite excited about Jurassic World. And then that first clip came out a few weeks ago. I don't know if you remember with Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt, and they showed the first scene. And I said, this has diminished my excitement for the film. That's gone again.
Yes.
This trailer's great. I really enjoyed the trailer. I love the feel of it, the tone. Lots of dinosaur action that you're pointing out. And what goes back to it is that, you remember the director, he's talked about his whole premise for this movie came from an image he saw of a kid standing on the opposite side of the glass from a T-Rex, texting, looking bored. And it's the law in our society of diminishing returns. It's like, what's the next big thing, whatever. And that flows into what the whole premise of this movie is going to be and why they created bigger, more genetically modified things. Like, oh, well, when we create a new attraction, our attendance spikes. Like, it's not exciting anymore. You're standing in front of dinosaurs. How much more do you need? So I really love the way they did that. The action looked great. The monsters look great. So yeah, for me, it's a buy.
Following the release of the first Batman vs. Superman trailer this past week, director Zack Snyder has released the first 2 official teaser posters for the upcoming film, one featuring Batman and the other Superman. Batman vs. Superman opens in AMC theaters on March 25th, 2016. Mark Barrisell, these new teaser posters for Batman vs. Superman.
I buy these posters, and I also bought the teaser this past weekend. I think that these posters reflect the art of what the film is going to be. I think that some people saw the trailer, and maybe it's just because they had such a Star Wars hangover that they couldn't get into it, or it was such a dark and brooding trailer. That's the movie that Kevin Tsuchihara said that they wanted to make. When he said that DC wants to be a more gritty, realistic kind of feel, that's what that trailer represented, and that's what these posters represent too, is that this movie is going to be dark. It's not going to be all that friendly. There's not going to be a lot of humor in it, but what these posters do is they accurately sell the movie that I think we're going to get, so it's a big buy for me.
I am going to sell the posters. Actually, I look at them. They don't really do anything for me, but that in no way negates how awesome that trailer is. I'm still talking about it with my friends online. That trailer is spectacular. Yeah. I still think the Star Wars one is a bit better. Remember, this is the second trailer for Star Wars. This was the first one for Batman v Superman. Let's see what goes a little bit later. And to the people who are saying like, it's too dark. Okay, wait a minute. You got to understand, this movie is motivated and influenced by The Dark Knight Returns comic book. And what a lot of people don't get is that Batman is not a friendly neighborhood crime fighter. He is a manifested nightmare. He is the embodiment of horror. If you understand that Batman, this Batman is supposed to be a guy who the very thought of him scares the crap out of people in the sense that I don't even want to try to pick some dude's pocket out of the worry that Batman's going to appear and hospitalize me for 6 months and make me eat through a straw. Right. That's what that Batman is. And I know where I'm talking about the trailer. I don't care. That whole scene when you hear Uncle Scar starting to talk about it starts with the fever, that's right, the rage, that feeling of the way he says it, powerlessness, and that close-up shot of Ben Affleck's face. If you look really closely, it's not just him looking grim. There's trembling in his face. Look really close. The feeling of power that turns good men cruel. And then the shot of the Batman outfit. Yes! Yes! This, I'm telling you, this is the Batman film we have been waiting for. I love the Nolan films, but this Batman is going to make Christian Bale's Batman look like a Teletubby. As far as darkness of the soul, I'm telling you that I'm so excited for that. Anyway, we're talking about these posters. I'm going way off on a tangent. Well, Schnepp, what did you think? I haven't talked to you yet about the trailer either.
I absolutely love the trailer. Let's take a few minutes to talk about the trailer. We've been busy. We haven't got to sweat out and nerd out, so get to do it live. Yeah, I love that trailer. I freaked out, and it was such a cool day to see the Star Wars trailer and then the Batman v Superman trailer within the same day.
Yeah, within 20
minutes.
I mean,
come on. I mean, that was like a trailer freak out, and both of them are so different. I absolutely love that Star Wars trailer, and I cried just like everybody.
Yep.
The Batman v Superman trailer, I jumped up out of my seat like blown away by how amazingly true to what you're talking about, The Dark Knight Returns, and just the idea that DC is really following through with. Like, they have this pantheon of like weird Greek gods that they're really following through with. That kind of universe is what they're building, a more realistic and, you could say gritty, but I would just say just a little darker. And that kind of works with DC, and it works better with Marvel to have that lighter edge and have more humor. And that therein is the difference with those two cinematic universes. Snyder started it with Man of Steel, and now he's continuing that storyline, which obviously by watching the trailer, people are a little upset with Superman destroying half of Metropolis. I mean, we knew those ramifications would be there, but now it takes this guy out of retirement, Batman. And yeah, Batman, the Dark Knight, he should be that scary guy. That's what this is all about, like showing like, you brought me out of retirement. Do you bleed? It's
Who stands in front of Superman and says, "Do you bleed?
You will."
Who does that?
Only
Batman does.
It takes a dark dude to hire Jeremy Irons as his butler.
I know.
That's not like a sane human being that'll do that.
That's right.
But the other thing that I loved about everything that we're getting out of this is now I think we're seeing that not only is this heavily influenced by The Dark Knight Returns, I have been talking for a while that my favorite comic book story arc for probably in the last 7-8 years has been the Year One Injustice Gods Among Us storyline. And if you watch this trailer and you've read Injustice Gods Among Us, this feels like a hybrid of The Dark Knight Returns with Injustice Gods Among Us. When Superman comes down that pipe and there's the 4 soldiers, I didn't see it the first time I looked, but those soldiers have the Superman emblem on their shoulders.
They're all
then they get down.
him.
Then they get down on their
They'll have
knees.
his logo.
Yeah.
So that's weird. It's like, I don't know what
Like
that
half the
storyline
world is looking at him as a savior. Half of them are looking at him suspicious. I'm just real excited for the movie. That's all.
I buy these posters, by the way, guys. I like them. I think they're cool. And especially these are like teaser posters. These aren't the official posters. And it's like, I like both of them. A lot of people are like, which one do you like better? I think they're both great. You have to hang them side by side or opposite from each other. They're really cool.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. So, Ashley, what's in the mailbag today?
Antonio Ibarra writes, Furious 7 broke records and was announced as the fastest movie in history to hit 1 billion. Surely the people at Marvel Studios are worried about this achievement with the worldwide release of Age of Ultron coming up. Do you think Avengers 2 can make more than Furious 7 or at least hit some major record-breaking achievement?
It's a foregone conclusion. Avengers Age of Ultron will crush whatever results that Fast and Furious get. Number one, because it is just so highly anticipated. It's crazy. It is the most anticipated movie of the year, depending on who you talk to. And it's we can't. Our review drops tomorrow, by the way. Our review of Avengers Age of Ultron will go online tomorrow. But I can at least tell you this: and I liked Fast and Furious 7 very much. You saw my review. This is a better movie than Fast and Furious 7, and it's going to have people going back multiple times, and so it won't have a problem. It will not have a problem. And no, the only thing Disney's worried about is if they can beat the previous Avengers. And remember, the previous Avengers is the #1 opening weekend box office of all time. That is a high standard. It is the #3 all-time box office champion worldwide. That is a high standard. So the only thing that Disney's worried about is if they can beat their last movie, not what else is opening up around them. Anyway, Schnepp, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting, weird phrase, worried about. I don't think they're worried about anything. They're just sitting on a giant stack of $1 billion. I mean, they're like, a thing they're worried about is what are they going to spend that money on? That's I think. I just don't know what part of the planet we're going to buy with all this money that we're going to make from Avengers Age of Ultron. Just the ceaseless, endless amount of fountain of money just pouring out for week after week after week, billions of dollars. That's what they're worried about, is how are they going to, spend it all? I don't think they're worried about anything. And believe me, we saw the film. I can't wait to see it again. So I mean,
I'm really excited.
It's going to have multiple times, so you're going to want to see it multiple times. So it's.
You don't think Disney's worried about that fat guy in the Segway coming up, right?
As long as he doesn't they don't want him to break the screen or something. Like, hey, get the Segway guy away.
They're just worried about injuring themselves if they try to jump into their pile of money like Scrooge McDuck in DuckTales. Like, this thing is going to crush. I think it's going to be the highest grossing weekend opening of all time. I think it's going to go well over 200 million. I think it's probably going to be 210, 220, somewhere around there. This thing is going to demolish box office records. It might be the highest grossing film. This is a movie that can compete with Avatar for the reasons we were talking about. It's because it is going to do repeat business. Yeah. We've all seen it and we want to see it again. And I'll probably see it twice this weekend at least, right? Yeah. So I am ready to see this film multiple times. Whereas, like John, you said, Fast and Furious 7, it's a really cool movie. I still haven't seen it, but you see it once, maybe you see it twice, but you probably have that one viewing is enough for you.
And, the other thing to keep in mind too is Avengers worried about it. Fast and the Furious is in its third week and it's already dropped down to 29 million. Oh, only 29 million in its third week, but still, that isn't a pace to shatter big record things. And by the time Avengers comes out, it's going to be in its fifth week and probably pulling in about 10 million a week. So no, Avengers isn't worried about it at all. All right, what's next?
Jeffrey Dempster writes, I was just curious, when you review a movie, whether it's a negative response or a positive response, do you get any responses from celebrities? We know some celebrities watch your show because of Vin Diesel. Love you guys and love the show.
It actually happens more times than you'd think. I mean, it's certainly not a regular thing. It's not like all the biggest movie stars in the world are watching AMC Movie Talk every day. But it does happen sometimes. Like I'll say something that I like the movie, and I'll definitely get an email from a producer or a director or a writer or maybe a cast member thing saying, "Hey, I'm so glad you liked it," or whatever. Then we had the thing like with Vin Diesel. I have also gotten one or two kind of more negative ones when I didn't like something. How could you say this or that? But that actually, you brought up the Vin Diesel thing. One of the cool things about Vin Diesel, and this is actually true of more people in Hollywood than you think. Vin Diesel, you saw the interview. He loves AMC Movie Talk. He talked all about blah, blah, blah. But then he's totally aware that there are some things he's done that I didn't like and that I've criticized. And so we were talking off camera after that interview was done. And he said, even my stuff that you didn't like, the thing is, you're always fair. And I think that's all anybody in Hollywood really cares about. There are some shallow people, but I think a lot of them they're all grown-ups. They have big pants and they understand the business. And, if you like something, you say you like it. If you don't like it. All they care about is if you're fair. And I find most of them are like that. Schnepp, you rub shoulders with a lot of, being a creator and a director and a writer, having worked in television and film. What's your experience been like with other people hearing that you liked or didn't like their stuff?
I mean, you try to it's a weird situation sometimes. Like if you see a film and you're friends with that person and it wasn't your favorite film, you don't want to be like, I thought your film sucked. You want to be like, the parts that I liked were this. And, if you want to know what I really felt, these parts I felt didn't work as well. And, that depends on how close you are with that person. If it's just a peripheral, like, hey, I hung out with this person at a party and had a drink with them and I absolutely hated their movie, I might say I absolutely hated their movie, but I look forward to the next thing. Maybe it'll be different, So, I mean, it is weird. It's like you're never out to hurt anybody's feelings or make somebody feel bad if you didn't like the their acting or the directing or the writing. It really is like you always say, it's subjective. So to me, I'm like, I don't really hold back that much on how I feel about something because this is my dumb opinion. You know what I mean? Like
Schnepp will come in on a random morning, come to my office. Hey, saw the show yesterday. You were really bad on it. Yeah, all right. Thanks for letting me know how you felt.
I've never done that. This man is lying. No, but I'm just saying it's like I like to be truthful about stuff. Yeah. So it always feels better. Like I don't want to if I didn't like a film, I'll say, hey, these are the reasons I didn't like it. And hopefully the next film for them, they'll change it. And also it's just my opinion. Other people could love that film and be like, you're totally wrong. And that's cool. So
But the important thing about that though is by telling them when you don't like something that they do, when they do something else and you did like it, they know you're not just blowing wind up their skirt. They know, he must actually be telling you, he must actually have really liked it because he told me when he didn't like it before. So I think that's important.
There's a great point that was made in the Roger Ebert documentary, Life Itself, I think is what it's called. And he was talking about how Martin Scorsese, he killed one of Martin Scorsese's movies. And because Scorsese realized, he's like, wow, that really hurt, but it made me a better filmmaker because he actually came back and he's like, now that this guy isn't going to lie to me, he's going to give me his honest opinion. And honesty in my other job and in this job is the most important thing. The audience can smell when you're being disingenuous. So if you just are honest the entire time, that's always going to work. And I can't wait for the Avengers to write us and tell each and every one of them how they liked our review when it comes out.
All right, folks. Hey, you know what? If you got a question for us and email's not the only way you can get it to us. You can also hop on Twitter because we know you're all on your phones doing the tweeting thing all the time.
While you're supposed to be looking at a T-Rex.
You're supposed to be watching a T-Rex. You can tweet a question into us. Just hop on Twitter and tweet out a question. Just include the hashtag AMC Movie Talk. Just include the hashtag AMC Movie Talk, and that way we make sure we see it. So, Ashley, what are people asking on Twitter?
First one comes from AJ, and they write, are all Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez considered to be in a combined cinematic universe?
No, absolutely not. They're not. Django Unchained is not having the same universe that Spy Kids 3D, the Quest for More Lava or whatever it was called.
Dino Girl and Lava Kid.
Dino Girl and Lava Kid. So as far as I know, the answer is no, but I can... I'm not going to be shocked though if Quentin gets on, does some interview and says, yeah, actually me and Robert, we decided that we're going to write our movies in such a way that they could be in the same cinematic universe. I wouldn't follow from shock. As far as I know, that's not the case. Mark, do you know anything different?
No, but I'd love to see the mariachi go after the Spy Kids. I think that'd be a great film.
Right? I think Hateful Eight takes place in the same world as Django Unchained. I'm pretty sure of that. But
that's Quentin's own movie.
Right. They're the Robert Rodriguez and Quentin are not combined in any way. Maybe like they have some
There's
certain
Grindhouse.
Yeah, they have certain combinos like From Dusk Till Dawn. That's like, hey, we shared our vision in that world, but that world is separate from the Spy Kids world, which is separate from Sin City, which is separate from Pulp Fiction. So yeah, their worlds are not together.
All right, what's next?
Darren Marler writes, I hear Johnny Depp is a no-show on the set of the new Pirates sequel for a week now. What do you think is going on?
Well, some of you may remember actually a week or 2 weeks ago, it was actually Depp actually suffered a pretty bad hand injury. Hey, he was cool. There were pictures of him getting on a plane, waving to people, but his hand was all wrapped up, and they were flying him back to the States to undergo surgery in the States. So as far as I know, that's all that's going on, and they expect a full recovery from him, and that he should be back on set soon, and that they're shooting around his scenes right now. So the movie's not going to be thrown out of its schedule. But have you guys heard anything otherwise?
No, I'm assuming that he's like resting his hand because, he had to go to New York to get it fixed. They're like, we don't have a hospital here. No, we have to get the top surgeon in New York. So, he's got to be chilling out and just like relaxing. Maybe,
they don't have some sort of mad scientist on that island that he owns that can't fix his hand for him? Like, I assumed he had some sort of like Empire Strikes Back, Luke Skywalker technology. Right. Just get that thing fixed really quick. But apparently he's got to go to New York for it. So it's serious.
I heard it was caused by a Segway accident. All right, what's next?
M. Gammon DuPont writes, why did it take over 5 years for them not to make Edgar Wright's Ant-Man?
I love the way that question. Right, why did it take 5 years to not make it? No, that is a great question. That's a money question right there, because look, we all, as fans, sensible ones anyway, we all understood that the parting of ways between Edgar Wright and Marvel, it had been 5 years since, Edgar Wright had come up with his Ant-Man film. And now the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a different place than it was when he created that film. It wasn't going to fit in, and they parted ways. Nobody's fault, not Edgar's fault, not Marvel's fault. It was probably the right decision for everybody. But the money question is, why did it take them 5 years? I was on a panel with Edgar Wright 5 or 6 years ago talking about Ant-Man. But why did it take that long? Now, whether it was because Marvel threw the brakes on it saying, hey, we got this new plan. We need to get this Iron Man knocked out of the park first. We need to get this Thor thing, and then we're going to go into with Avengers, and your plan for Ant-Man doesn't really fit into that. So let's do Ant-Man after that. Maybe just got pushed back. I know Edgar had kept himself busy, and that entire time frame he had kept himself busy. So maybe it was his schedule that was putting things off. Like in the between time, he did what's the one he did with the
World's End?
The World's End.
World's End, but and Scott Pilgrim he did in between that time.
I could tell you, I spoke with Edgar like last Comic-Con ago.
Oh yeah, we were at that party.
Yeah, so I spoke to him, and he actually told me in confidence. He said why Ant-Man was delayed is because they were about to make Ant-Man, and then he had to put the brakes on it to make the World's End, because one of the producers of the World's End was very ill, and they had always made a promise to each other that they would make this Cornetto trilogy and make these 3 movies. So they were going to make World's End after Ant-Man, and then they had to honor the agreement. They didn't have to, but Edgar's a cool guy, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to make this film so that just in case bad things happen with this producer's life, like he dies or something, that will have made that 3rd film. And that's why they all did it. That's why they kind of rushed into making World's End so quickly. You hadn't heard about it, and all of a sudden, oh my God, they're done filming it. It's like, it's one of those things. And because that film then delayed Ant-Man another 2 full years, Marvel's Cinematic Universe had then kept evolving, and then became a more established thing. So what he had been developing for the previous up to that point was 3.5 years, then became 5.5 years, and then, you know what I mean? It just, now it was a different world and didn't fit in. So that's the story I got.
That's way more insight than I could ever lend. I need to hang out with you guys at Comic-Con parties tomorrow.
Just let me say, I'm really glad he told you that in confidence. Otherwise, it might have leaked out.
Well, no, that was several years ago, guys.
He leads off the story. So he told me this thing in confidence. Let me tell you exactly what he told me in confidence.
Don't let John Schnepp have your ATM codes, kid.
Guys, hang on a second. He just said it to me. He didn't say, like, don't tell anyone. He just said, this is what happened.
No wonder you don't get invited to Star Wars Celebration. You're going to give away all the secrets, man.
So Joss Whedon comes up to me and says, I got to tell you something. You got to keep it totally secret. I said, sure, no thing, Joss. And this is what he told me.
It wasn't totally secret.
I know.
I don't feel bad even saying it, because he didn't say, don't tell anyone. He just told me.
It's a
I asked him.
It's a good story.
Yeah.
And
I don't feel bad saying it. Edgar, you're awesome. So.
All right, folks, that'll do it for us for this installment of AMC Movie Talk. Thanks so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, Lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course, your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video and you will find a link to our podcast feed. And don't forget, click the thumbs up button and most importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep you up to date on all of our shows coming soon. Rewind, Heroes, Jedi Council, on and on. Lots of great shows happening on AMC Movie Talk. Keep up to date by subscribing for free. I want to thank the guys sitting at the table with me. Sitting over here, starting off with writer, director, confidence keeper, Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Snopes.com. Just write me some special stuff there. You can find me at Twitter, Instagram at John Schnepp and at TDOSLWH. And also go to TDOSLWH.com and check out The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. Final trailer.
New trailer dropped.
Just dropped today. Check it out. It's a little different, so tell me what you think. You could always find me online, checking my comment sections. See you guys later.
The one and the only Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you online?
You can find me at 5150 Ellis on Twitter and Instagram. You can check out my emoji reaction to the Rogue One trailer that we got to see. My summer stand-up comedy tour kicks off this week in Pennsylvania. Go to markellislive.com for tickets.
Can I just say, I think you rock the Sons of AMC shirt better than any of us.
Yeah,
like, yes, you do. You really wear it really well. And of
you.
course, our lovely host today, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley,
You know
where
what?
can people find
Challenge
you?
accepted. I'm going to wear that tomorrow. And
And then, well, my mind may change. May totally change.
you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Ashley Mova. Happy Monday, guys.
And you guys can find me on the various social media networks. Follow me on Twitter or on Facebook, just at John Campea. That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. And until next time, bye-bye.